Hi, this is Randy Wimmer with Government Contracting Academy, and today I'd like to talk about why federal government contracting as your first choice in entrepreneurship, and most importantly, how to get started. Why government contracting as your first choice in entrepreneurship? Why now? And why now more than ever? Well, let's answer this question this way. What if you could create a time machine and go back in time and you landed on April 11th, 2003? I know one of the things that I would do. I would buy stock in Apple. Apple stock was less than a quarter a share, less than 25 cents. It was 24 cents a share on April 11th, 2003. I would have invested as many dollars as I could find. I would be looking behind my couch cushions looking for change to invest in Apple. Now, why is that? Well, if you invested $1,000 in Apple on April 11th, 2003, you'd have well over $500,000 off of a single $1,000 investment. What if you'd invested $10,000 or $20,000 or God forbid $100,000 in Apple? Wow! Look what you'd have right now. It'd be mind-boggling. But on April 11th, 2003, nobody knew about the iPod or the iPhone or the iPad or iTunes or name your i. It's everything now. Nobody knew that. Well, it's no different in the government contracting industry. Look at the history of government spending. Now, not all government spending goes to federal government contractors. A lot of it comes with earmarks. A lot of it, unfortunately, was associated with the national debt and paying interest off of that, and so on. But there's a very strong correlation. The more money the government has or don't have, they're going to spend it. And most of the things that they have to buy through contractors. They don't have the luxury of just going out there and say, you know what, hey, we like IBM. Here's $5 billion to do X, Y, or Z. They have to compete it. They have to put it on a request for proposals, and it's competed. That means any government contractor could win it. So I showed this chart to show how spending of the U.S. federal government has honestly gotten out of control. It has been growing like crazy, like crazy. Now, I always have a few people that say, "Well, Randy, yeah, you're just showing the years that it's spiking. It's certainly not going to sustain that type of growth." You're right. You're right. This chart is wrong. That's the reality of it. In 2024, we have over a $6.5 trillion budget. 6.5. It was even growing at a faster rate than this chart indicated. So now the question is if you know that you're in an industry that's growing as quickly as this is, and the number of competitors are declining, the number of bidders have been continuing to decline over the past decade, to me that just makes sense. You've got diminishing competition and you've got expanding opportunities. Like, that is the perfect combination. It is truly April 11th, 2003 in the federal government contracting industry, and will be for some time to come. Because I'm actually going to put this out there for you to answer that question. Do you believe that the government is ever going to lower taxes significantly? Do you think that the government is ever going to say, the world's so safe now that, we're going to cut our defense budgets? Do you think congressmen are ever going to say, you know what, we need to tighten our belts in our congressional district? So voters, I'm going to go into office and I'm going to vote that we get less from the federal government. Now, honestly, it's comical. That's never going to happen. So this spending trend is going to continue and continue and continue. Doesn't matter what it is. Now, here's the other tremendous attribute of the federal government. If you look at this curve right here, around 2008, 2009, 2010, you see a bump in it. Now, why did that bump happen? That bump happened not because the economy was doing really well, it was because it was tanking. That is when the housing bubble burst and things were going to, pardon my French, shit in a handbasket. Things were going really badly. So do you know what the federal government did to stimulate the economy? They pumped money into the economy. Now, how do you get money into the economy? Now, on very, very, very rare occasion, like they did during the pandemic, they'll send you out checks. But 99% of the time, they're stimulating the economy through stimulus packages, through infrastructure packages, and so on and so forth. And how does that money get into the economy? Through federal government contracts. So it is a compensating economy. When the economy is doing great, the federal government collects more tax, income from businesses and people, and hey, they're not saving it. If they have it, they spend it. Even if they don't have it, they're spending it. So when things are going well, the federal government contracting industry is going very, very, very well. When things are going poorly, hey, the federal government contracting industry is going very, very well in the forms of stimulus packages. So it's a compensating economy. We're getting it on both sides. If it's good, things are good for us. If it's bad, things are good for us. The other thing is there's a small business set-aside program. So what does that mean? That means out of those trillions of dollars being spent by the federal government, at least, and this is such a ridiculously conservative number, but again, I don't want to be accused of inflating numbers to oversell the federal government marketplace. We're just going to go with $700 billion. Now, because the government has the small business set-aside program, 23% of all of those dollars have got to go on a prime contract to small businesses. So that green, all that green is going in the form of small business set-aside contracts. Well, the government, they do it one step further. They say, well, yeah, we not only want 23% to go to small businesses, but we want to make sure that certain types of small businesses are getting their fair share. We want to make sure that historically underutilized business-owned companies are getting 3%. We want to make sure that our disadvantaged businesses that are in the 8A program are getting, well, in fiscal year 24, it's going to be 13%, and fiscal year 25 is going to be 15% of that awardable budget. We want to make sure that 5% is going to service disabled, veteran-owned small businesses. We want to make sure that 5% are going to women-owned small businesses. So, now, a lot of people say, yeah, oh my gosh, Randy, you just rattled off 4 different set-aside statuses, and I'm not a woman, I'm not a service-disabled vet, and I'm not a disadvantaged business owner. I'm not a minority. I'm screwed. Oh no! As a startup, any company can become a historically unutilized business owner. It has nothing to do with the owner. It has everything to do with how you position your company. And it's very easy to become a hub zone company for the set-aside program. And the reason why it's 3% is because the government doesn't want to look bad by missing the mark by even more, because they can't even come close to meeting their hub zone goals of 3%. Why? They can't find enough hub zones to give the earmarks to. Now, let's just look at this 3% hub zone earmark, because that's the smallest one. That equates to $21 billion per year in prime contract opportunities. Now, that $21 billion is tough for anybody to get their arms around. This is the way I like to explain it. $21 billion is the equivalent of 2,100 contracts that are each worth $10 million. Now, why did I say $10 million? Because as a small business, if you're not managing your prime contract to 20%, then you've got fat overhead. So 20% of 10 million is $2 million. It's enough to make you a multimillionaire. So you have 2,100 opportunities to become a multimillionaire being a hub zone every single year. Now, that's not really the way the numbers work. It's, some of those contracting opportunities are a hell of a lot bigger than 10 million, and some of them are really small. However, this isn't also all of the small business set-aside program. That's just the prime contracting side. See this big orange section? Now, a lot of those opportunities are so big that the government says, you know what, that's not really fair that this big company gets all of this work when a big chunk of it could be done by small businesses. So we were going to enforce a small business utilization program goal on them of 29.43% on the really big ones. So you're getting a lot of subcontracting opportunities too. So your small business set-aside program is one of the best deals going in the entire entrepreneurial world. It is unique. It's fast food. The fast food industry does not have a small business set-aside program where Ronald McDonald is directing, consumers down the street to New Guys Burgers. They're not doing that. They're not bringing in New Guys Burgers to be a subcontractor to help them make Big Macs when a tourist bus pulls into their parking lot. But that's what the small business set-aside program does in the federal government contracting industry. Here's another advantage of the federal government contracting industry. Entrepreneurship is a contact sport. It's you versus the world. You got a ton of competitors. There are over 31 million businesses in the United States. 31 million. Doesn't matter what industry you are in, you are going to have a ton of competitors. A ton. A lot. Shockingly, 95% of your competitors will not pursue federal government contracts. Think about what I just said. 19 out of 20 of your natural competitors out in the real world, companies who are doing the same thing as you are, 19 out of 20 of them will not pursue federal government contracts. You eliminate 95% of your competitors by choosing the federal government as a customer. That is the easiest way to eliminate your competition. Just go after the world's largest customer. Now why is that? Well, there's lots of different reasons. One is that the sales cycle is too slow, for a lot of companies in their business model. Another one is it's tough to carry, effort, costs associated with getting a customer over different fiscal quarters, and how do you report that? And so there's some legitimate reasons, but not many. A lot of it is they just don't know how. Pursuing federal government contracts is not hard. It's just different. And those tiny little differences make it to where 19 out of 20 of your competitors do not pursue federal government contracts. One of the biggest reasons is that the educational community, the training community, they've completely ignored the world's largest customer. Somehow there's not a single MBA program that specializes in supporting the world's largest customer, the federal government. You have MBA programs that support the healthcare community, the medical community, the entertainment industry, consulting, finance, automotive industry, you name it. They have MBA programs that specialize in that particular market space. Not a single one for federal government contracting. So how do you learn it? It's tough. If you're not already in the industry, you got to be learning it from somebody who has been in the industry. That's why Government Contracting Academy has been growing hand over fist. And the reason why is because it's just not out there. There are no educational or training institutions out there focusing on the world's largest customer. But wait, there's more. It is not a free set of steak knives. So I'm sorry to disappoint you. It's perhaps one of the absolute lowest barriers to market entry and participation that you can have. The cost to bid on life-changing government services bids is absolutely trivial. It is trivial. The real cost comes in hard work. When I launched my very first company, it cost me about $500. I had to buy a business license. I had to get a website because I needed to look legitimate. My website hosting came with a free email. I bought a $50 WordPress template that I populated. I bought business cards. I bought a $250 printer. That was it. That was my company. That was the cost of my company. And I created generational wealth off of that initial investment of $500. Basically, that was me cutting back on my Starbucks habit. That is why the federal government is where you should be launching your very first startup. There are just too many advantages in this industry than others. So I hope this helps, and I'll talk to you soon.